Ninjago Masters of Spinjitzu is a TV series I'm very fond of. I've been there since the beginning and I will most likely be there for the end. If you guys have watched my channel for some time, you may remember that yes, I did do a video like this a while back. After Skybound came out in January of 2016, I released a video for my official rankings of the seasons from worst to best, and today I'm here to release an update to that original video. Why, you may ask? Well, I figured that it's time for a new video because more seasons have been released and the last video was taken down due to copyright. But a LEGO employee falling asleep at his desk gives me the chance to redo this list with more seasons and with better editing skills. Again, I will be ranking the seasons of Ninjago from worst to best. Just remember that I don't hate any of the seasons. Well, maybe one, but most of them are fine. Some are definitely better than others, but which ones do I think are the best? My opinions have changed a little since last time, and that's another thing. Opinions, okay? With that being said, let's get right into the list. And yes, this does fall under fair use. Day of the Departed is something that I've already done a video on, so I won't say much here, but let's just say it's at the bottom of this list for a good reason. This season, if you even want to call it that, was a rushed, illiterate mess that really didn't need to be made. The concept itself is actually really interesting. I mean, who wouldn't want to see old villains team up to take down the ninja? The problem is, this wasn't made the right way, and it wasn't released at the right time. Its main problem was trying to cram too many stories and too many ideas into a time span of 45 minutes. Because of the delay of the LEGO Ninjago movie, Day of the Departed was written and rushed out to make up for that empty space. But the concept would have worked much better as a full season. I'm disappointed as to what Day of the Departed became, but it's not all bad. This was really the first time that the character of Cole was actually centered on. It actually held a fresh feeling with it. A lot of character development happened for Cole in this episode, but unfortunately the other ninja got left in the dark. Unlike other seasons, Day of the Departed does not deliver, but in its entirety, it is by far one of the worst pieces of Ninjago media. The first season of Ninjago is nostalgic to many in the sense that this was the first official season from the franchise. This season more or less sets up the arc for the Green Ninja and gives us a first look at the future team leader, Lloyd Garmadon. It still amazes me that the young Garmadon fanboy actually turned out to be the legendary Chosen One. Besides that, the season also introduced us to my opinion some of the worst villains we've ever seen. With the exception of Pythor and Scales, the Serpentine as a whole just come off as annoying and in no way intimidating, but that all changed with the introduction of the Great Devourer. This massive snake was the first major threat to the land of Ninjago. With its abilities and everything, my 12-year-old self had no idea how the ninja would defeat it. As we all know, it was destroyed by Lord Garmadon, but the inclusion and backstory of the legendary snake was a nice touch. Speaking of which, we finally got to connect to and learn more about our favorite ninja, and that helped to flesh out their characters even more. Nia actually got an arc, and as I said, Lloyd went from annoying to just starting to unlock the secrets of his destiny. Season 1 is great and provides in some categories, but it's definitely lacking in others, and for that it earns the number 8 spot on this list. This is a season I have a fondness for, but at the same time, I have a lot of issues with it, but let's just get it out of the way. The main thing that holds the season back is the dreaded filler episodes. I've explained this in a few videos before, but basically the reasoning behind these random dumb episodes was simple timing, or lack thereof. The writers needed the final battle portion of season 2 to actually line up with the January 2013 release of sets, so the filler episodes and a large gap between episodes was the result. Again, I've already done a video on why I hate these episodes, but it really is the reason the season isn't higher, and that's unfortunate because I really enjoyed the second half of the season. The final battle is something that the franchise was building towards for a while, and this season was highly anticipated amongst the fans. And when the Stone Army and the Overlord finally started making their mark, the season picked up in a big way. The ninja claimed the roles of guardians of the Green Ninja and were destined to protect him, while Lloyd himself claimed his own destiny. The Dark Island was a great setting for the second half of the season and added to the ancient nature of the characters themselves. Out of everything we've seen, the final battle is single-handedly my favorite thing from the Ninjago franchise, and it really pains me to put it this low on the list, but the filler episodes hold it down. If not for the first half of the season, the final battle saga would definitely be at the number 1 spot, but for now, it stays down here at number 7. Ah, how the nostalgia flows within us all. This season, or rather the series of brief episodes and mini-movies, introduced us to the world of Ninjago and the characters that inhabit the land. This was our first look as to what Ninjago could be, and gave us the right idea as to where the series would go. The premise was simple. Sensei Wu senses a returning threat, so he enlists the help of 4 young ninja to search for the golden weapons. Sure, the obvious main focus of the preseason was Kai and what he's going through, but the other ninja actually served a purpose. It's weird to think that there were only 4 ninja originally, because it wasn't long until we got a 5th and 6th, but when watching I could easily tell what the writers were aiming for, and in my opinion they pulled it off beautifully. Of course, the Skulkin Army aren't the most intimidating threat the ninja have ever faced, and they act much like the Serpentine do, but I think they were a good first evil force. I can see why this small introduction to the Ninjago theme actually managed to spawn a full-on TV show. The action was intense, and the story kept on driving forward with an amazing amount of consistency, but upon rewatch I found that some parts were a little slow and the conversations don't really flow as well as I thought they did, but that may just have to do with pacing and runtime concerns. Overall, the only thing keeping this season from making a higher spot on the list is simply the fact that I like other seasons more. The sheer factor of personality alone makes this an enjoyable watch and will always be something that the fans look back on with fond memories. Many of you were wondering what I thought of the new Hands of Time season as a whole, and now I can finally talk about it. I've reviewed each episode of the season individually, so I hope I don't sound redundant, but anyway, here's what I think about Season 7. For me, it was just alright. I've seen many people say that this was the best season of all time, but I don't really see it. I mean, sure, it's miles better than Day of the Departed, but it really doesn't live up to the legacy of other seasons. My primary issue with this season is the fact that teamwork wasn't really a major focus. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kai and Nia express much of this, and it's actually a running theme for them, but I'm referring to the overall team. In the past, I've referred to this season as the split-up season because that's all the ninjas seem to do. I feel their character traits work best when combined together and used as one. To simply put it, divided, they're not as strong. Another small issue is the animation. I can tell that their budget was a little bit smaller this time around, or they just used new software, but when compared to other seasons, Hands of Time is definitely on the short side of the stick when it comes to visuals. Besides the few obvious problems I have, the season was actually a lot better than I thought it would be. This is, of course, the first instance where two ninja take center stage instead of just one, and the whole story actually revolves around Kai and Nia in an amazing way. Acronix and Crux actually weren't terrible villains. I mean, they obviously weren't the best, but they still got the point across, and with them possibly making a return in Season 8, I feel that this will progress more. It was great finding out what actually happened to Rei and Maya, Kai and Nia's parents, and where they've been this whole time. I loved seeing that family dynamic, and I really enjoyed seeing what the two had to offer in terms of story. Another big theme in this season was Lloyd becoming a sensei, or a master as they're now calling it, but to me it felt too premature and didn't make any sense. Regardless, the stakes in the season were extremely high, not only as a story standpoint, but also as an overall influence on the brand itself, and I think it paid off big time. Season 5 is a controversial pick for the number 4 spot because a lot of people personally do not like it. I, on the contrary, actually do like it quite a bit, and here's my reasons as to why. This season actually limited the powers of the ninja and forced them to resort to their early days of fighting and rekindling that old spirit. With their elemental powers, the ninja felt too overpowered in some cases, but without their powers and without Lloyd, the team felt much more expendable, and that's a good thing. As for some other reasons, Moro as a character is just fantastic. He's proven who he is, and he's definitely left a mark on history as being one of the finest Ninjago villains to date. His backstory is also very intriguing, and he's actually quite intimidating. In addition to the ninja trying to recover Lloyd and various relics from the past, Nia is also training to become the official 6th member of the ninja team and the Master of Water. This is an aspect of Nia that we really didn't see in the past, and it was actually refreshing to see her finally join the team. This season also officially introduced the concept of different realms, and allowed fans to make connections with past seasons, but the main draw of this entire season was the finale and the fall of the City of Styx. This final confrontation with the cursed realm itself is something truly amazing and one of the most cinematic moments in Ninjago's entire library. When all hope seemed lost, the ninja and especially Nia proved that they were the true guardians of the land, and this just improved everyone's character in my eyes. Without the Green Ninja, the season seemed like a lost cause, but it actually showed that the team could still push forward without Lloyd like they did way back then. In the end, I really enjoyed the season of Possession. It was definitely a unique spin on the abilities of the ninja and encouraged fans to piece together history for the larger story. Season 6 of Ninjago is great if you're a big fan of the relationship between Jay and Nia, which I personally am, so naturally I'm a big fan of Skybound. I'll admit, I was a little bit skeptical when Jay was revealed to be the main ninja of the season. In the past, Jay was simply the comic relief, so I really didn't think that he had the actual ability to hold his own in a standalone season. But to my surprise, he actually managed to pull it off. Jay's character drastically increases in terms of development over the season, which is refreshing because he's never fully taken the spotlight before, and he shares it beautifully with Nia. Some of the best moments from the season, and some of my favorites from the series, have actually come from those Jay and Nia moments. On the opposite side of the spectrum, Natakan the Jin is just amazing. Natakan is simply pure evil, hellbent on making the ninja pay for the destruction of his home world. This is actually one of the best motivations for any villain that we've ever seen, and it actually manages to drive the story forward and keep his character genuinely interesting. The stakes in the season were actually much higher than most, with literal parts of the land being lifted up and with the overwhelming realization that at any point, this rebuilt realm could come crashing down on the rest of Ninjago in a catastrophic Avengers Age of Ultron meteor shower. The season does take a weird turn in terms of character development for the other ninja because many of them really don't appear in the majority of the episodes, but that's okay because the story really isn't focused on them. The finale of the season is controversial to say the least, with Nia actually dying and the entirety of the season being erased from existence, but as a single season, it's pretty solid. Minimal gripes are available to report on. It's just, yeah, it's a pretty good season as it is, but of course I really don't feel that it's the best Ninjago has to offer. Season 3, subtitled Rebooted, is a weird entry on my list. It's the shortest of all the official seasons with only 8 episodes under its belt, but that means its focus is higher on the story and less on filling in gaps and making up for lost time. And speaking of time, boy did the season take a long time to air. For those of you who don't know, in the US, Season 3 was split into 4 different parts. Each part consisted of 2 episodes, but here's the catch. Each part aired every 3 months in the States. But let's not talk about the insane marketing choices of the TV show. Let's talk about this season because obviously, as the runner-up on this list, it's actually pretty good. This season was the first instance in a long while while where we actually got to reconnect with our favorite ninja. Rebooted is probably the longest time skip we've ever seen from the series, and that worried me initially, but let me just say it only affects the season in a positive way. Rebooted is the first season to focus on Zane, and it's primarily his story, but it's not limited to his point of view. We also catch up with Lloyd and what he's going through trying to unlock the true power of his golden heritage, which is actually really interesting. We've already seen what golden power can do already, but now we found out that the power is only the beginning of its max potential. Also, carrying over from the previous season was the Overlord himself. He returns as the main villain and pretty much wants only a few things. For one, he wants to carry out his revenge on Lloyd for the outcome of the final battle, and he also wants to regain his physical form. To get both things crossed off his wish list, the Overlord needed one thing, and that of course was golden power. As we know, he was eventually successful, and he and his army of ninjoids are ready to perform a strike against Ninjago. Season 3 is famous for including many various aspects of previous Ninjago seasons. We got to see Pythor return in a henchman sort of role, and the golden weapons also make a brief comeback. But the main draw and the main event of the season was of course the final episode. Newly equipped with stone armor, the ninja went head to head against the Overlord, but being the golden master, the Overlord was able to overpower most of them. But Zane managed to slip away. He knew he needed to do something, but little did we know this would lead to one of the most heartbreaking scenes of all time. Zane latched onto the mech suit of the Overlord with no intention of letting go. He knew it was over as soon as he made contact with the golden weapons, but he wasn't going down by himself. He actually managed to take out the Overlord with a blast of pure ice, and managed to bring the light back to the land. The ninja held a funeral for their fallen friend, while the viewers at home said goodbye to the ninja of ice. However, the feeling wouldn't last long because of course Zane made it out alive, and that would carry into the next season. But even though the season was short in terms of runtime, it was heavy in terms of the feels, and this season will not be leaving the minds and hearts of fans anytime soon. And now onto my number 1, which of course has not changed since the last video. I have stuck with my opinions, and this season is the one I'm naturally drawn to the most. But wow, is Tournament of Elements a fantastic season. From beginning to end, this season grabs the viewer and doesn't let them go, and it's truly a sight to see. The season begins with the ninja still torn apart. Due to the loss of Zane, the ninja no longer feel the need to be a united team, and instead have all retired being ninja except for Lloyd, who of course tries his best to bring the team back together. But they eventually get a confirmation that Zane is in fact still alive and is on Master Chen's island. To see Zane and get him off the island, the ninja need to compete against other elemental masters in the Tournament of Elements. Basically an underground fighting club, as Jay would call it. But yeah, the tournament had many stages of conquest, and when it was all said and done, only one would remain. The winner would receive the Staff of Elements, which Chen is secretly using to steal powers from the competitors. And speaking of Chen, wow is he intimidating. He's not your stereotypical villain, but you have no idea what his true intentions are or what he may be thinking at any given moment. Chen and Klaus were some of the strangest villains we've seen, but they actually play a big part in the history of Ninjago, and Garmadon knows this. The season also featured a lot of new characters in the form of elemental masters, but the main one that you need to remember is Skylar. She is simply amazing. As one of my favorite characters from Ninjago, Skylar is cool, calm, and very skilled in martial arts. She is by far the most likely elemental master to join the ninja team, and she really does deserve it. Of course, the main focus of the season is pretty much finding and rescuing Zane, and we soon catch up with the new Titanium Ninja. After his battle with the Overlord, Zane rebuilt himself, but he and Pixel were kidnapped and taken to Chen's island. This was basically done to use them as bait for the rest of the ninja. Unfortunately, Pixel was dismantled, but she continued to live on as an AI program inside Zane's head. Eventually, when Zane rejoined the team, he was able to unlock his elemental dragon, and he showed the other masters how to do this as well. This was extremely necessary because of what Chen was up to. We figured out that Chen's reason for stealing the elemental powers was actually for an ancient spell. As an open fanboy of the Serpentine and especially the Anacondrae, Chen wanted to turn himself and his followers into snake people. That may be crazy, but it's also really frightening at the same time. The ninja eventually took the fight to the Corridor of Elders, where the new and improved Elemental Alliance would face off against the false Anacondrae warriors. The battle went on for quite some time, but the fate of everyone ultimately rested in the hands of Sensei Garmadon. He decided to make the ultimate sacrifice. He allowed himself to be banished to the Cursed Realm in order to bring back the original Anacondrae generals to cross over and dispose of Chen's knockoff army once and for all. Garmadon was successful in this endeavor, and the Anacondrae thanked the Alliance for their efforts in the war. After their victory, the team celebrated Garmadon's life and honored him as a true sensei. Many emotions were present in this episode, and the season as an entirety. Overall, the season was very enjoyable, and was actually one of the most cinematic seasons from the entire franchise. And let me just say, if the LEGO Ninjago movie is this good, I will be very happy. So there you have it, my updated ranking the seasons video. I hope you enjoyed my ranking, but just remember that this is simply my own opinion and is not the definite choice for everyone. Remember to post a comment stating what you think of each season down below, and while you're down there, feel free to leave a like and hit subscribe. Also, don't forget to leave your video suggestions down below as well for a chance to have your idea featured as an actual video sometime later on. Thank you guys so very much for watching. My name is TannerFishies, and with that, I bid you farewell.